back to school as a 42-year-old, soon-to-be 43-year-old man. And by the way, that might have also been the case if Josh McDaniels leaves. You bring a new offensive coordinator if he changes the system. So McDaniels' stability in New England, which might, for Brady, further incentivize him to stay. But the question is, should the Patriots want him to stay? And this sounds disrespectful, but it's not. The answer is no. And the answer is no, not because of anything bad against Brady in the past, but because Brady is no longer a championship-level player. And the earlier you can get on to the next phase, when you know, man, I have hit my ceiling at this job, I'm not going to get the promotion, I'm not going to get this, the quicker you make the move, the better off you are. When you know you're in a relationship that isn't going to where you want it to go, the quicker you rip the Band-Aid off, the better off you are. And the Patriots and Tom Brady have had a beautiful, unprecedented, amazing 20-year run. But the run of championship contention is over. Belichick's run of being a championship coach is not. So, do you want to, for the sake of nostalgia, hold on to what was once great? Or do you want to do what Belichick has done his entire career, which is make the hard decision and say, I appreciate what you've done for me in the past, but it is about what you can do for me tomorrow, not what you did for me yesterday, and we are ready to turn the page. To me, Belichick already made it very clear he was ready for that when he didn't give Brady the contract extension, and I think those are the exact discussions they're having in Foxborough right now.
Yeah, you giving up on Tom Brady, it seems to be pretty consistent. I feel like you've done that quite a bit, like a million other people who said it's over. I mean, it was over 5 years ago. It was over when he turned 30. It was over. I mean, it's just always over. So at some point, everybody's going to be right, and it's going to be over.
But what if that point's now?
What if it is now? But let's talk about a couple things. Josh McDaniels coming back is great for the Patriots and increases the chances of Tom being there, to me, significantly. Because if you're Tom, you do want to go back to a program where you know everybody who's involved. There's continuity. There's not going to be that type of learning, although they wouldn't change the system dramatically, but you're comfortable with the person who's calling the plays. So to me, that's great. Hopefully Dante Scarnecchia comes back for the Patriots and for Tom as well. So I think the chances of him returning increases substantially. In terms of wanting him back, look, he's had seasons like this in the past. 2013 wasn't a great season for him. I think 2006 was similar, wasn't a great season for him. And we could say it's just a function of him not being good enough anymore. Or we could say that, you know, we add a few components. Some of these young players get a little bit better. They went, what, 12-4?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, well, maybe they'll go 14-2 next year. Maybe they'll win the division for the, what, 14th, 13th? Well,
They've won it every year since.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track. But anyways, maybe he'll do that, or maybe they will move on. And look, Bill, one of the things that does make Bill great is his ruthless ability to move on from player favorites. And just look at Bernie Kosar. I mean, he cut Bernie Kosar in Cleveland with diminishing skills, and that
was when he had 1% of the power and prestige he has now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a controversial, you've talked to me about it off the air. Bernie was a legend there.
Legend.
Belichick was, at the time, nobody. He was just the guy who happened to be the current coach of the Browns, and he still did it then.
And Vinny Testaverde came in, and the first play Vinny Testaverde ever took was a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. But in retrospect, he made the right decision. Vinny had some very successful years after that, and Bernie kind of moved into a backup role. So he does have that ability to do that. But I don't necessarily believe that the performance this year means that Tom can't come back and do it once again. I'm not ready, like you are, to give up on him. I do think if there's a little bit of progress offensively from some of those young guys, we may be looking at a really different offense next year.
No, Coach, I'm right there with you. I'm not ready to give up on Tom Brady either. I think that if the Patriots are looking at their quarterback options, they'd have to probably come to the conclusion that Tom Brady would be the most viable of the guys on the free agent market this offseason. Now, obviously, you have to throw in the caveat of what the number is going to be like, what the contract is going to look like. But, I mean, they really don't have an alternative in terms of who's going to play quarterback in 2020 for them, not with an organization that expects to compete at a certain level. And when you consider how talented their defense is, this is a team that should be in the postseason in 2020. When you look at the landscape of the division that they're in, and you look at how well that defense played throughout the course of the year, not so much at the end of the year, but throughout the course of the year, you have to feel good about Bill Belichick in the program that he has and their opportunity to compete. And if you're talking about being able to compete at a championship level, you do have to have somebody under center that has some experience and that can make plays and be timely in terms of being able to use your offense to complement what your defense and your special teams brings to the table. I think that's what Tom Brady represents for the Pats, much in the same way that Peyton Manning represented for the Denver Broncos that year they won Super Bowl 50. So I still think Tom Brady is able to play at a level that will allow this organization to compete for a championship, but they have to drastically improve the talent level around him on the offensive side of the ball.
But I get what you're saying. So play general manager for a second. You're figuring out what you're going to do next year for the Patriots.
He plays that all the time.
I know he does. I sit across from him. Here you go. Well, he just got really excited. So what do you do? So I get that you're ready to move on from Tom Brady. With the defense that have coming in next year, what do you do?
I asked myself, what's the best use of, let's call it $28 million.
Okay.
And the question is, if I am going to get, I don't think Brady is going to have a miraculous bounce back year at age 43. Coach is correct that I said at age 40, we've never seen a guy do it. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. All history says he can't do it. And he won the league MVP that year. Okay? Coach is absolutely correct that I said this 2 years ago, and he won the league MVP. And that was based nothing about, by the way, how he had played the previous year. He had a 112 rating at age 39. I just said age 40 is when guys hit the cliff and fall off it. I thought it was going to happen. The difference is we've now seen it happen. What I was saying 2 years ago was a prediction. This is no longer a prediction. It is no longer predicting the demise of Tom Brady. It is acknowledging the demise of Tom Brady. But to directly answer your question, I think you can better use $28 million. I think you can get a replacement level quarterback, be it Teddy Bridgewater, be it, I think that there are some Marcus Mariota traits because he never turns the ball over. It's the one thing he does really well. And he has some mobility for an offensive line that is not what it once was. I think that with the right coordinating, with the right coaching, you could get the best out of him like they did in year 2. That if you can get that guy for $8 million and then spend $20 million, because all I've heard all year is the Patriots don't have enough weapons. It's not Tom's fault. And this is where I'm very interested, even what the possible counter could be. In column A,
I don't think that's a totally fair assessment. It's not like what we typically do here where we say, you know, this guy needs more weapons, this guy needs more weapons, this guy needs more weapons. It was a function of them losing their starting center. They're losing their starting left tackle. I mean, there were, if any other team had gone through that, we would have given them some sort of medal to be 12-4.
Coach, I totally disagree with you. Teams go through that every year. And by the way, their left tackle they let leave in free agency, and then Isaiah Wynn was there for the second half of the year. The Chiefs were without their starting left tackle for 8 weeks, their starting left guard for 4 of those weeks. Nobody talked about it. And they lost their fullback, and that's a very important piece of your team. If you don't have a good passing offense, you better have a good fullback because you're going to have to run the football. And if you can, and it's the NFL, there's going to be injuries. But just to get back to the point quickly, column A, you have what I believe, that while the skill positions weren't great, the quarterback play really, really was poor this year. Column B is he was done dirty by the lack of talent around him. Needed tight ends, needed better offensive line, needed better receivers. If you believe column B, if you bring him back, you don't have the money to fix it. So yeah, why would it be better next year when you don't have the money? You traded a pick for Mohamed Sanu. I'm told he stinks. I'm told that it's not Brady's fault, that Mohamed Sanu just all of a sudden got to New England and started stinking. He was fine in Atlanta, but now he stinks. So is that going to change? I'm told N'Keal Harry must just be the wrong pick. It's not that he was, there's a reason he was drafted for DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown, all these guys that succeeded. No, they just had the wrong pick there. Well, is that going to change? He become the right pick? Or it's A or B. Either way, the right move for the Patriots is to move on from Tom.
So you'd rather take what's behind door number 2 than the known commodity that you have in Tom Brady right now?
If the known commodity is not good enough and the